The reality is templates work for the types of tasks, the type of procedures that we're going to do frequently. We want to mimic something. We want to make it easier. So for example, a template for your email, that's a common place where we might see a template. I send this email all the time. I create a template. There it is. When I want to use it, I grab it, I go. Mm-hmm. The problem I see with trying to template a goal is an individual expression of what an individual wants. Mm-hmm. And so you can't template around something that's individual because you have never happened before. Mm-hmm. You have a goal, a desire that's probably deep within that you're tapping into that's coming out. And because of that, we don't template those types of things because they're one-offs. They're one-of-a-kinds. Templates aren't made for one-of-a-kinds. Right. They're made for something we're going to replicate over and over and over again and get faster at it.
Right. I think of this as it would be as if you asked a personal trainer, and you decide you want to run a marathon.
Yeah.
So you go to a personal trainer and say, hey, I need to get in shape so I can run a marathon. Do you have a template for that? Well, it's not quite the right question. What they have is a training program, and they can lay out for you in very specific detail when to start, how many days you need to train a week, what runs you need to do, in what order as you build this capacity to run a marathon. They're all over the internet. But they're not templates in this sense, because what they do is they give you an outline or a process to follow, but you still have to go do the workouts. And the workouts are still going to be hard.
Yeah.
And you can't get from running 5Ks to running marathons without that hard work.
Right.
Now, it is super helpful to have somebody show you this is the work you need to do, because one of the things that's beneficial about that is they eliminate the guesswork.
Right.
You don't end up wasting a bunch of time doing things that aren't helpful. But it's more like a recipe or an outline. Mm-hmm. It doesn't short circuit the work.
Right. There's elements to a goal that are true no matter what philosophy or goal setting framework you subscribe to. Mm-hmm. They're going to have the same elements. And I think that's what you're getting at. And so what we try to do as good coaches or leaders is we try to teach people, hey, if you're going to set a goal, they need to at least include these elements. Mm-hmm. And I know you have a real specific formula that you use and we use here at Icon. But that's about as far as you can template something. But all the fill-ins, I mean, there's no model for it. I mean,
all the blank spaces
be you.
are the hard bits.
It's
right?
the hard bits.
Yeah. We do. And we'll actually share it right now. I always say, if you need to be able to write the goal, you need to be able to write these sentences as a starting point. This is the practice of doing this. Now, in the end, if you want to keep these elements and phrase it differently or word it differently, that's fine. But if you can write these sentences down and fill in these blanks, you will know you've done the work of getting your big idea down to something actionable. And it's simply this. By, the word by. So start with the word by, date. Insert date.
Yeah.
So by this date, I or we, if it's a team goal, right? I will, and then you have to insert something that is concrete and specific, has to be aggressive but realistic, measurable and verifiable. Mm-hmm. Period. By date, I will do this. That's the hard work, right?
Yep.
Then next sentence, as measured by, insert measuring stick. Third sentence is optional. So that, insert the why you're doing this, and reconnect it to vision and mission. Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes that's redundant or self-evident, doesn't need to be stated, but sometimes it's really helpful to know the why we're doing this and be reminded of that.
Yeah.
So you end up with a thing that says, by date, I will, concrete and specific, aggressive but realistic, measurable and verifiable, as measured by, insert measuring stick, so that, connect it to why.
Yeah.
But that work of getting an idea into that formula or that much specificity is just a ton of work.
Yeah. And the reason why we're talking about goals isn't just because it's the time of year, which again, this is a good season to do it. So let's talk about it. Mm-hmm. But what you and I have learned, and I think most people listening in who have experienced some measure of success or followed someone who's been successful, realize that those people are good at setting goals. So there's a level of success that you can only arrive to by becoming good and familiar with the goal setting process. I know that there are times in my life, and when it comes to goal setting, there's part of me that gets excited because I feel like, okay, it's that time to get clear and set out a new North Star or a new flag out in the future somewhere that I'm going to arrive to. But then I can also feel this sense of, okay, but now I'm going to be held accountable. Now
Right.
there's this pressure and it's work, and is it really a good goal? So it's learning too the balance of like, when do we set goals? And then what are the times, or maybe when do we not set a goal, right? There are times where I don't need a goal to do this. I just want to let the wave of the universe take me wherever it might take me. And part of the experience is just wherever the wind blows, here I am. And that in itself is going to be successful because I didn't have to think about it.
Right.
But then there are places where we might need to set a goal. Help us talk through that a little bit, as I'm just going to draw on your experience. But how do you guide someone? Like, what are the indicators that would say, okay, you need a goal here? This next thing is going to require some good goal work. What are ways that you identify that?
So I pay attention. I think goals are a natural byproduct of pre-work. And when the pre-work is working, the goals just show up. They're not quite so heavy to write. It's not quite so hard. And the pre-work is really having an articulation of your vision, your mission, your why. Why are you in this season of life? What's it for? And having a sense of connection to that will start to allow someone to go, yeah, and now I want to accomplish something. But if you don't know what you want to accomplish, it's probably because you haven't answered that why work.
Sure.
Right? So if someone's trying to write goals as though that's going to be the why, or that's going to create the motivation, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
They end up messy and vague and floundering. So we fall back. We use that as an indicator that helps us know, oh, okay, no problem. So then we don't give up on goals. We don't say goals don't work, we don't like goals. What we do is we fall back and we come back into the meaning work, the why work. And then when we get that sorted, we come back and we test it. Can you now write a goal?
Yeah.
And I think there's an interplay between those two. There's a reasonable fear of being intentional about lifestyle design when you don't know what life you want to design, right?
That's exactly right. What are you building?
I don't know. Okay, well, let's not articulate it, but let's figure out the why bits first.